Thank you so much, Yaakov, and thank you all of you for being here. As the Consul General of Israel, I'm glad that so many Israelis came here to our city, to this conference. My friends, this time I will bring you only good news. I will leave the bad news for my colleagues. And the good news that I want to bring you in the aftermath of the 7th anniversary of the re-establishment of the State of Israel is threefold. The first one, Israel has never been stronger than now. The second one, Israel has never been more prosperous than now. And the third one, in spite of all the slogans that we hear about boycotting Israel, Israel has never been less isolated in the world than these days. I will leave the military side to the generals that will address you later. I would like to say a few words about the second, about the prosperity that Israel enjoys these days, which is quite a miracle. For a person like me that still remembers very vividly the days in which we had 400% annual rate of inflation, days in which no Israeli in his senses hold any shekels in his pocket because he could virtually sense the value slipping down his leg, is quite miraculous to think about the fact that today the shekel is perhaps the strongest currency in the world. For an Israeli that remembers that only 30 years ago, what's 30 years? A blink, nothing. 30 years ago, in 1988, 1987, our GDP per capita was around $7,000 or $8,000. That put us in a good place among third world nations. Today, with close to $40,000 GDP per capita, we are at par with Japan, and the Italians and the Spanish look at our backs. To understand the incredible revolution that Israel underwent the last decades, I will share with you a personal story. I arrived to Israel. I wasn't born in Israel. I arrived to Israel from Argentina as an Oleh Hadash when I was 15 in 1971. I was born in Buenos Aires, a very big, bustling, thriving city that really never sleeps. And my parents told me we are going to move from Buenos Aires, a big city, to another big city, Tel Aviv. I believed them. Big mistake. Tel Aviv in 1971, Israel had one and only television channel, black and white, owned by the government. The broadcast started every evening at 7:30 p.m. At exactly 10 p.m., there was this weird clock that ticked for 30 seconds until it reached exactly 10 p.m. 10:01, all the lights went off in Tel Aviv. 10:02, all Tel Aviv was sleeping. By the way, Haifa was already sleeping 2 hours. And you come to Tel Aviv or to Haifa today, but mainly to Tel Aviv, and you see really something that is comparable only to the big cities of the world, New York, London, Paris, cranes everywhere. And a second vignette that I would like to share with you is from the 90s. I was already in the high-tech business, in the software business. My company was located in an area of Tel Aviv named Ramat HaChayal, which is a kind of Silicon Valley of Israel, of Tel Aviv. And one morning I wake up to the news that America Online has acquired an Israeli company, a neighboring company in Ramat HaChayal. The name was Mirabilis. The software they developed was ICQ, for a staggering $400 million. And I remember telling to myself that morning, it can't be true. It can't be true that an American firm pays $400 million for an Israeli one. Today, $400 million do not make the news in Israel. Maybe page 17, the bottom of page 17 in a specialized economic press. Actually, in 2017, we shattered what I believe was the new glass ceiling, the $10 billion mark for an Israeli company, but we didn't do it once, we did it twice. Intel Corporation acquired Mobileye in the business of autonomous vehicles by $15.5 billion, and a company that I must admit I never heard its name, Kate Pharma, in the business of finding a cure to leukemia, was acquired by an American company by more than $10 billion, meaning that there is a good chance that the cure to at least certain types of leukemia will come from Jerusalem. The second thing I would like to refer to briefly is our relations with the world. All of you know that we have rapidly improving relations with countries that we are not allowed to talk about, and that is extremely important. But I want to concentrate in, for instance, a small country, India. India didn't have diplomatic relations with Israel 25 years ago. As much as it sounds now incredible, Israel and India didn't recognize Israel 25 years ago. Today, the relations with India are intimate. When Prime Minister Netanyahu visited India and Prime Minister Modi visited Israel, the scene was incredible. Netanyahu took Modi to the Mediterranean, and they walked hand to hand into the sunset with no shoes and socks, to the point that someone said, "Guys, take a room." China and more and more. If we had more time, you would be amazed to understand how deep that is. And I will conclude by posing a challenge to you. Go home, take a globe, spin it, and you will see that your finger, any point you put your finger, will be a country with which Israel improved its relations dramatically in the last years. So I think that as we celebrate Israel's 70th anniversary, we are entitled to finish my words together with you with the traditional blessing, Baruch Shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Thank you.